Hi, I'm Stratton from Woodturning. For this year, the S.W.A.T Symposium asked me to do a demonstration for them of a pumpkin box. So I thought I'd do it for you also in this video. Pumpkin box, well, you're used to making boxes that have a tenon and a mortise and straight sides and whatever, but pumpkin box is a little bit more challenging because we have to not only make the box, we need to make the tenon, we need to shape it. But things can interfere because if you make the joint too large, it peeks through later on, or too deep. So we've got to enhance our techniques just a little bit. In this case, we'll use the sphere turning technique, particularly the octagon method to turning a sphere, which will give us key measures from here to here to here to here to be able to lay out a sphere to begin with, what the box can be inside, and then we'll have some fun by turning it multi-axis wise and turn it into a pumpkin box. Last of all, we'll dress it up at the bottom and hollow it and put a stem on it. In this case, I 3D printed the stem, but you can do as you please. This one is carved and this one is molded from a real pumpkin stem. So let's make a pumpkin box.
Anyone can turn a pumpkin box, but it helps to have practiced using the octagon technique for turning spheres. We need a plan so that we can manage different mounts and cuts without the inside peeking out through the outside. We need a cylinder of dry wood whose length is about 1.5 times the diameter. The extra length allows for sacrificial tenons on both ends, room for a box joint with its mortise and tenon, and a little more in case the box joint has to be fine-tuned. We need the diameter of the cylinder. Fill this in at D equals on the left, then multiply the diameter times 0.414 and then times 0.293. It helps also to add these together. The top of the joint will be the 0.293 distance from the bottom of the right tenon. We will also divide the wood at this point. After fitting the box joint, we will measure from the joint bottom by the 0.414 and the 0.293 multiplication factors we calculated on the left side. This forms the square cylinder for the sphere. The actual diameter of the box tenon and mortise can vary, but be careful to leave enough wood to allow for the curve and grooves of the pumpkin. In particular, do not make the lid mortise too deep, since curves come in very quickly at this point. I will use chuck expansion and contraction mounts, but jam chucks and other techniques are possible. Turning a pumpkin box requires some advanced planning. It is a series of different mountings and different tools. If you leave out certain steps, yes, you can go back, but that takes time. I will summarize key actions as we progress. For now, this is a dry branch of what appears to be ash between centers. I'm rough turning it with my bow gouge. Once round, I need mounting tenons on both ends. Then measure the diameter. This measure is key to laying out critical points to an octagon, which will guide the formation of a sphere, which, in turn, will turn into our pumpkin. The box requirements require interrupting the usual sphere turning process. Instead of marking all the layout lines, I only need one layout line at a distance from the end from the cylinder to the nearest corner of the octagon. This is the diameter times 0.293 measure. This will define the top of the pumpkin box. I relieve some of the future joint tenon area before parting off the lid just below the layout line. Let's switch to a chuck and mount the lid portion using the tenon that we cut earlier. After cleaning up the surface, I mount a large Forstner bit in a Jacobs chuck in the tailstock. How large? Large enough that I have chuck jaws to hold it later in an expansion mount. This is also the mortise for the box joint. Mine is 1.75 inches. Let's drill this to between 1/4 and 3/8 inches deep. If too deep, it will show up later when we cut the pumpkin grooves. Not good. Later, we'll use a screw to hold the lid to the box. For now, we need to drill a hole through the lid large enough for the screw threads. Applying a finish is optional, but I like to apply as I can as the project progresses. Let's mount the base portion using the other tenon that we cut earlier. After cleaning up the surface, I need to cut the tenon to fit the mortise in the lid. This is the typical process of fitting a tenon to a mortise. A test cut until it fits. Usually chamfering the corner helps to know when I'm getting close. This is a slightly loose fit. No suction fit needed here. By the way, this will also serve as a tenon for future mounting. I also need to drill a pilot hole into the body for the future screw. You may be tempted to hollow the pumpkin now, but between the need for the screw and the pressures for the multi-axis turning later, we will have to defer hollowing. Since the base of this tenon now becomes in line with the layout line from the lid, we need to lay out 2 more lines. From this joint, diameter times 0.414 is the length of an octagon side along the cylinder. The other line is equal to the original diameter, but to find it now, it is better to add the 0.414 and 0.293 for 0.707. This times the diameter is the end of the octagon and end of our box. It is better to add the figures together and then mark the line than to mark the line first and then measure for the second. Separate marking may introduce small errors. Let's reverse the mount using the joint tenon. I waste off the excess wood outside the end mark. Then take a moment to mark a circle on the end whose diameter is equal to our octagon side. Remember that this is the original diameter times 0.414. Next, I cut from the side octagon line to the bottom octagon line. This is another side of the octagon. I aim my cut by assessing the distance from my cut to both lines and then cut little by little. Following the octagon process, I mark the center of each visible side of the octagon. This divides each side in half. Remember that the turning axis is already at the side's center. Then divide each half in half again, marking it on the wood. Then cut the corners, making additional flats. These then guide me to round off the octagon into a rough partial sphere. Let's remount the lid section again, but reversed, using the joint mortise for an expansion mount. We have just a couple of operations to do for this section. After removing the excess wood in the old tenon, I can mark the end for the octagon side just like I did for the base section. Then cut the diagonal surface from line to line just like the base section. Then divide the sides in half and half again, like the base section, and round off roughly similar to the base section, except that I chicken out and leave it more rough than otherwise. One more thing, I drill out a hole for the head of the screw. The size does not matter except that it needs to allow for the screw head and deep enough to enable the future pumpkin grooves, but not so deep as to penetrate into the lid section. About 3/8 deep for me. Finally, I can align the lid to the base and screw the 2 pieces together. My wood is pretty ugly right now. I will have to take care of that shortly. I mount the very rough sphere loosely in my chuck. Importantly, the live center point is holding the screw recess. With this mount, I can remove some ridges to refine the sphere slightly. This is only to enable the sphere to seat better into a cup chuck. Now with 2 cup chucks mounted and holding my rough sphere, I can resume the typical sphere refining process. As usual, I round off the sphere with my gouge, trying to remove the ghost image, but also trying not to cut too deeply, since this sphere is unusually rough. As in the usual process, I rotate the sphere 90 degrees so that the old equator is running north-south in the cup chucks. Then round off again to remove the ghosts. Then again, rotate the sphere 90 degrees for another ghost removal process. If necessary, additional rotations, since this was pretty rough to begin with. Then switch to sandpaper for the same process. At least 3 rotations at 80 grit, 3 rotations at 120 grit. For a sphere, I would continue through all grits. However, for this pumpkin, I think 120 grit is sufficient, with the additional tooling and sanding that will come later. If you want to see more sanding rotations, please see my other project videos on spheres. Now that the sphere is perfected, it is time to turn it into a harvest pumpkin. I need 8 divisions on the sphere. Fortunately, the screw head is at the original axis or north pole. The live center can engage the Phillips center. I mount the cup faceplate into my Vicmar chuck since its chuck has 24 divisions at the base. Then it is easy to count 3 marks on the chuck, mark a line on the sphere, count 3 more, mark, etc. Coming back to my initial mark is very comforting, since it indicates that I did not mess anything up. The next operation will be repeated 4 times. The sphere is again between cup faceplates, but with the axis turned 90 degrees. What was north-south is now east-west. I align the screw with the lines on opposite sides of the sphere, adjusting as necessary. Close is good enough for an organic pumpkin. Then with a freshly sharpened round-nose scraper, cut a shallow cove around the sphere. Depth is a matter of taste, but not so deep as to hit the head of the screw. After a light cut, stop to verify my alignment to the screw. Then continue. I keep the scraper in a negative position, meaning that the handle is high. Sanding now before any more axis shifts is a fantastic plan, up through 400 grit and extending out on each side of the groove. This ensures the entire surface will get sanded. Optionally, apply shellac now also. Then repeat 3 more times for a total of 4 grooves, wiping out the 8 dividing lines. The only difference for the additional cuts is to not cut any deeper than the original cove. Be sure to sand and finish. With the pumpkin apart, I mount the lid again using the joint mortise for an expansion mount. I drill a 1-inch hole to accept the base for my 3D printed stem. If you're a carver, go for it. It also helps to sand the edge with fine sandpaper to relieve any sharpness and smooth out any chips. Now mount the base using the joint tenon in a compression mount. With this mount, I can use a 1-inch Forstner bit to drill a shallow mortise. Then reverse the base onto small jaws that fit the mortise. A very good alternative is to use a donut chuck. With the base mounted on the small chuck, my best alternative is to drill to hollow with a large Forstner bit. Any lateral pressure to round out the interior would likely send the pumpkin flying away. The base is simply not large enough. If you were to want a more rounded interior, I recommend the donut chuck. My last step is to again reverse the base, mounting it again to the joint tenon. Carefully, with a round nose scraper or a spindle gouge, hollow out the mortise so that the pumpkin sits flat and is a little more squatty. Et voila! My harvest pumpkin is ready. It was fun demonstrating this at S.W.A.T. If you were there, this is your review. Again, for a novice, mastering the octagon method for turning spheres is a highly recommended prerequisite. For you sphere jig owners, it is also time to learn the octagon method, since your jig will not help you turn a pumpkin. Sorry. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my website as well as on YouTube. When you subscribe to my website, I email when there's a new video. This is a more reliable process than YouTube's wandering algorithm recommendations. Please tell your friends about my videos. I appreciate your comments and questions. Please wear your full face shield whenever the lathe is running. Yeah, I nag. It's worth it if I can save you, some of you, some pain.